I'm always delighted to be with Saul Anuzis, who's been such a leader in the conservative movement and the Republican Party.
Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for April 14th, 2023. A new op-ed from Saul Anuzis states, GOP House opens the door for prescription drug reform. Voters made it clear in November that they want more action on what really matters to them. The new Congress has a chance to notch a major victory for average Americans by going after the real source of high prescription drug costs in the country: middlemen companies known as pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. Americans who think Congress took enough action to address drug prices in the Inflation Reduction Act this summer have been served a large helping of Democrat baloney. They're in for a rude shock when it turns out that they're still getting fleeced at the pharmacy counter. That's because Democrats' partisan legislation didn't do anything to address one of the most important drivers of high out-of-pocket costs: the price inflating behavior of PBMs. Insurers use PBMs to negotiate prices with pharmaceutical firms for inclusion of their products on favorable terms in plan coverage. PBMs derive a great deal of their revenue by raking in a percentage of the list price of the medications they are negotiating over. This gives them an incentive to favor medications with higher list prices, and for drug makers to increase the list prices they know they will be discontinuing for insurers anyway. Ending this abuse of the system will lower drug costs for patients. Congress should start by stripping away the veil of secrecy PBMs currently operate behind. They should have to disclose the discounts they negotiate so patients can see how much insurers are really paying for medications. We would strongly encourage you to read the full op-ed by clicking on the link in the description below. The Hill reports, House Democrats call for Feinstein to resign. Two House Democrats called on Senator Diane Feinstein to resign on Wednesday, a stunning move underscoring the rising concern over her prolonged absence from the Senate. Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, was the first Democrat to publicly call for the 89-year-old senator to step down, despite her plans to retire at the end of her term in 2024. Shortly after Khanna said Feinstein should step aside, Representative Dean Phillips, a Democrat from Minnesota, followed suit. Feinstein remains out of Washington while recovering from shingles, and her absence has stalled the confirmation of President Biden's judicial appointments due to her seat on the Judiciary Committee. Senator Feinstein did not provide a timeline for her return to the Capitol, only saying that she will go back to Washington when her medical team says it is safe for her to travel. She noted that her return has been delayed because of, quote, continued complications related to her diagnosis. And finally, the Washington Free Beacon reports, Rubio demands investigation into reported ActBlue donor fraud. Senator Marco Rubio called for an investigation into the Democratic campaign fundraiser ActBlue after it reportedly collected donations fraudulently listed under the names of elderly Americans without their knowledge. Senator Rubio demanded that the Federal Election Commission investigate the fundraising company and urged the FEC to require credit card CVV codes from donors to prevent fraud. The Florida senator expressed concern over thousands of dollars in political donations that were listed with the names and addresses of Americans who say they never made the donations. And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for April 14th, 2023. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.